Turning the video on.
I unmuted mine. You want to watch yours?
I don't care.
Is YouTube on? Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We don't hear you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome. Welcome to our Shabbat morning service at Temple Akiba. All those who are here in person, as well as those who are here via Zoom and YouTube. We are here creating one holy community. My name is Rabbi Zach Shapiro, here with Cantor Lonnie Freilich, and we're celebrating this morning as Sisi and Gabe become B'nai Mitzvah. We're so excited to be here together, to be on this journey. A couple of requests that we have of all of you, whether you're here at Akiba or beyond, if you can make sure that your cell phone is in the silent mode so that we don't get interrupted by those sounds. And if you are at home watching via Zoom, if you can make sure you're in the mute mode. We'd love to hear your voice, but at the same time, we don't want to hear it. It just kind of interrupts things. So, but there will be moments for those of you who are home that we're going to ask you to use the chat box so that we can connect with you at certain points of our prayer service. Kendra, do you want to talk about the music?
I'd love to. So Sisi and Gabe are going to be leading us through most of our service, many of our prayers. But there's times during our service for us to participate with them, to sing with them, or to do some hand motions. For those of you at home, we still would love for you to participate, even though we can't see you as much. But the more we can participate, the more we are showing our love to Sisi and Gabe.
We're going to open with the singing of Hine Matov. How wonderful it is that we're here together as one family. We're in our blue prayer books on page 70.
Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
We're going to continue now with the presentation of the Talit on page 72. Sisi and Gabe, we'd like you to come forward along with Papa C, your grandpa, and your parents, Edie and Ken. You're going to stand right here at the podium. We're on page 72, everyone, page 72.
As I wrap myself in the talit, I fulfill the mitzvah of my Creator.
Bless Adonai, O my soul, Adonai, how great you are. You are robed in glory and majesty, wrapping yourself in light as in garment, spreading forth the heavens like a curtain.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'heirat tefbat tzitzi. Oh, blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to wrap ourselves in the fringes.
Gabe and Sisi, I'm Papa C. And when I first heard that your mom was pregnant with you in 2006, we were so excited. In November of 2006, Mama D, may she rest in peace, and I came out to see the sonogram. And we met the doctor, a little Jewish doctor, real small. And he said, oh, the Bubby and the Zeta, to see the babies. And Mama D said, did you say babies or baby? He said, baby. Then we saw the sonogram, and we first got a look at you two. And then after that, January 17th came along, and Mama D was here. I flew in. It snowed the day you were born. Came to the hospital. There you were. Then you went to Bassinet later together, and we found out who was in charge. Because every time Sisi was taken out of the bassinet to feed, you cried. Every time she came back, you stopped crying. When you got up, she didn't care. Now we fast forward to last January of 20. I came in to take you to buy your talit and your outfits, and what a wonderful day it was. And now here we are, adding you to our long group of Jewish adults in our family. It's a long heritage, and we're very proud of you. Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
You guys stay there the whole time.
Okay.
We've got a program at Temple Akiba called the Golden Chai Award Program, where we ask of those who are becoming B'nai Mitzvah to go above and beyond the learning of prayers, Torah, and Haftorah. Sisi and Gabe, you were supposed to be here about a year ago doing this.
Yeah.
And so much of your preparation was fulfilled well in advance. But this was worth the wait, because Cantor and I got to work an extra year with the two of you, and we feel very blessed. And we've seen the incredible mitzvot that you've accomplished already and how you've made the world better. I wanted to share with the congregation a little bit of the essay that each of you wrote as you prepared to earn your Golden Chai Award. Sisi, you said, as a human, we can naturally judge people without getting to know them, especially with the BLM protests going on now and over the past year. I've realized that it really isn't fair to be defined by our skin or by our ancestors, or frankly, anything else that we cannot control. No one is more dangerous than someone else because of their skin. My gosh, what an important social issue you wrote about. And putting that on paper and writing about it, it just shows how much you care about humanity and the world. Gabe, you chose a similar theme. You talked about the injustice of racism. You said that throughout history, people have been discriminated against because of their skin color. People have been enslaved or accused and even killed because of the color of their skin. Overall, no matter what we look like, we're all humans, and we should all be treated equally. Nobody is better than someone else because of the color of their skin. Gabe and Sisi, each of you have shown through your goodness and through your eye toward humanity that there is a true sense of gold in your souls. For all that you've done and all that you'll continue to do, we award you today with the Golden Chai.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. All right. And as you place those on your head, it is a sign to all of us here in Culver City and in the future to those in Atlanta that we embrace you with love and with goodness and with lots of peace. Everyone wish them a mazel tov. And a moment ago, you received for the very first time, officially as B'nai Mitzvah, your taluses from your grandpa and from your parents. And we honor the first time we do everything in Judaism with a shehechianu, a blessing of thanksgiving. It's on page 344. We're thanking God for giving us life and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this precious moment.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Our world is filled with miracles. And there are times that we need kind of a head start to acknowledge and notice them. And so in our Siddur on page 84, we have the Nisim B'chol Yom, the miracles that we embrace every day. Sisi and Gabe will alternate them, but when they're finished with each blessing, we can respond by saying Amen.
You're first.
Sisi.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben horin.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael v'tifara.
Amen. We're going to continue now with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 106. Gabe will be leading us.
Do you
No,
want
that's
to stay up
me.
here?
It's fine. Yikada ve'yikada shemei rabba.
Amen.
Ve'al mativ rat hirte, ve'al mlich mahote, ve'ha yehan yemehan ufeidaho be'Yisrael. Ba gala uzman karib, v'meru amen. Hishmei rabba mavarach, li'alam la me'al maya, yibara v'ishtaba, v'yipar v'yirman v'yitnase, v'yidadar v'yithalal, shmei kudashah brihu. La'ila mimko birata v'shirata, Jush beha tavne emanta damiram belma, v'meru amen.
Amen. Our formal call to worship is the Baruch Hu on page 108. We invite all who are able to please rise.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavora. Baruch Adonai hamavora. Le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated, everyone. The next prayer is the Yotzer Or. It's on page 110. And Sisi and Gabe will be leading this in Hebrew. As they do, we're going to ask all of you at home via Zoom to do something for us. This is a prayer about the creation of light. We'd like to ask you to write in the chat box something about Sisi or Gabe, both of them or one of them, that you think brings light into the world, something that they do that makes our world a brighter and better place. Place that in the chat box, and then when they're finished with the prayer, we'll share a little bit about what you wrote.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvrei hasheha, aseh shalom uvrei hakol, ha'meir la'eretz v'ladarim alei berahamim, uvtuel mekadesh b'hol yom tamid, ma'aseh v'reshit.
Bara bu ma'aseha Adonai, kulam behoma asita, mal'ah ha'eretz kinyaha, tipara Adonai Eloheinu, al shivah ma'aseh yadeha, ve'al mo'orei or asita, Yefru hasela or hadash al sion ta'ir, benis kehulanu mehira la'oro, baruch atah Adonai yotzer hamarot.
All right. Cantor, can we take some alternating ones
Yeah,
here?
absolutely.
All right. Lisa Waters writes, the joy they bring to their parents.
Let's see. Elizabeth Lodowitz says they are both very caring souls.
Diana Wilmont shared, Sisi brings light to this world with her smile and the way she loves ninja and animals and shows passion with her art.
Dan Elkinson says their smiles.
Hold on. Annalisa says, we have lovely memories of playing with you on the beach.
So Michael Greenwald says, I'm thrilled to see that Ken's bemused combo of a smirk and exasperation will not die with him.
Jack and Michelle, Sisi's creativity and art brings beautiful things into the world.
Julie Pearl Slater says, Sisi seems to find the good in all things. Gabe's dry sense of humor gets mepting. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. Tom Freund, excuse me, their smiles and sweet laughs.
Dan Mervish says, I love their joint entrepreneurial artistic endeavors.
Dan, I wish you could see Mimi's face right now. All right. Richfield, Sisi and Gabe bring light to everyone with love for their animals and origami.
Beth Greenwald says, Sisi and Gabe are extremely crafty and driven.
Val, Lisa, and Nicholas, Sisi's miniature art and Gabe's mega sports achievements.
Lon Keith says, Gabe and Sisi bring joy to us all with their love for each other.
Julie, Gabe's dry sense of humor gets me every time.
Sarah Portnoy says, Gabe's mischievousness.
Jack and Michelle, Gabe's laugh at 6 months at my goofy faces gave me so much joy.
Kari Sivkov says, Sisi brings light with her humor, kindness, and creativeness.
Enjoy Mashal, Sisi's warmth and generosity and Gabe's energy and wit.
Diana Wilmot says, Gabe brings light to this world in the way he cares for his friends and looks out for others on the field and around him.
And Elizabeth Lodowitz, Sisi's extensive creativity and Gabe's speed Hebrew reading.
Jerry Greenwald says, I know they will both continue to be driving forces to make our world a better place.
What an appropriate place to stop and breathe. Wow. So much light that you bring into the world. Thank you for those of you at home for connecting with us in that way and making our liturgy so real and so beautiful. We're going to continue now with the watchword of our faith, the Shema Yisrael. If all who are able can please rise once again. We're on pages 114 and 115.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated, everyone. Gabe will continue with the chanting of the V'ahavta on page 116.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, ve'olavavha, uv'chol nafshecha, uv'chol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzaveha hayom alevaveha, v'shinantam levaneha v'dibarta ba'am, v'shifteha b'vita, u'lefteha v'adera, Ushokbaha uvkumeha, Ushartam liot al yadeha, Vehayula totafo beneneha, Uftatam amizo beteha, Vishareha, Leman tiskaru, Veasitem ekometzotai, Vitam kedoshim lelohem, Ani Adonai lohem, Asher Atetzerehem Eretz Mitzrayim Lahiyot Lahem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohehem.
And next, we continue now with our song of freedom, the Micha Mocha. It's on page 122. Gabe and Sisi will be singing this together.
Mi Hamoha Bailim Adonai. Mi Kamoha Nedar Bakodesh Nor Tehilot Oser Fela.
We continue now on page 124. We ask the congregation once again to please rise. Sisi will begin with the Avot, Imahot, and Gevurot, and then Sisi and Gabe will continue with the Kedusha.
Adonai Sefer Tefita Ufiagi Tehilateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Isaac ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Anara, El Elyon, Gomel Hasatim Tovim, Ve'Konei Ha'akol, Ezer Hirasei Avot ve'Imahot, Mivek Ula Lifnei v'nei Ham, Laman Shemo be'Ahava, Melech Ozer Amashia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atagi Bor Le'olam Adonai, Mehaya Kol Atah Lahoshia, Morid Hatal, Melchel Hayim be'Hesed, Mehaya HaKol be'Rahamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Virafei Holim, Umatir Azirim, Umekayim Emunato Lishenei Armi Hamoha Bal Gevurot, Umidol Melech, Melech Memid, Umekayim, Umatmi Yeshua, V'ne'emana Tal HaHayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai Mehayeh HaKol. Nekadesh Shemha Ba'olam, Hashem Shemati O Tovish Memaram, Kakatu Vayad Neviyeha, Bekarav Ze'el Zeh Ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sevaot, Melohol Haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu, Madir Shemha B'chol Haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkemo, Echad Eloheinu, Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu V'Hu Yashmienu, Berahamav Le'enu Kol Hai, Ani Adonai Elohehem, Yimloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohai Yitzion, Ladorvador, Hallelujah. Ladorvador Nagid Galecha, Ol Netzah Netzahim Kedusha Nagdish, V'Shimcha Eloheinu Mipinu Layamish Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please engage when you go and stand with your families. Friends, we continue silently using the pages from 132 to 142 as a guide, or else just taking a moment to think of your own private prayers. And when you're finished with your own silent prayer, you may be seated.
Work smarter, not harder. Gotta know that.
We're going to ask for all of Sisi and Gabe's classmates from Temple Akiba to come forward and help us. Sisi and Gabe, you as well. Just sort of standing in a semicircle behind the podium. Leave your prayer books where they are. Sisi and Gabe, you guys will be in the middle where you're at the podium. Spread yourselves out all the way around.
All the way down. All right, come up.
You can come in the middle, right?
Here we go, ready? Ayo, oh, way. Ayo, oh, way. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Hey oh oh way. Hey oh oh way. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev. Lo yamedu on milchama, lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yamedu on milchama. Hey oh oh way. Hey oh oh way. Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend. And together we will walk in the path of Hashem. Hey, oh, oh, hey, hey, oh. Oh, way.
It's so good to see all of you. Have a seat now, though.
Thank you, everyone.
Except for Sisi and Gabe. Kentralani, I have a tear in my eye seeing all these classmates together.
I know, it's so good to see all of you.
It's been such a long time. It's been such a long time, and it makes such a difference. So friends, we've come to Seder Kriyat Torah, the service for the reading of Torah, a very special moment in our community. Sisi and Gabe will be chanting from a Torah portion entitled Emor. It's not the portion that's typically assigned for the Shabbat, as will be explained later on, but because their B'nai Mitzvah was supposed to be about a year ago, they kept their same Torah portion, and we're honoring that. We're going to be chanting from that part of Torah itself. In order for this to happen, we need for the ark to be opened. And Rai, this is you. We're going to ask for those who are here and at home to please rise. We're on page 244.
Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai v'ein kemasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'hador Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch leolam v'ed Adonai yos le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, av harachamim, heitiv avitzoncha et Zion, tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Ki v'cha levad batachnu Melech el ram v'nisa Adon olamim Ki mitzion tetzei Torah Ki mitzion tetzei
Torah udevar Adonai miYerushalayim.
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
Ladorvador, from generation to generation, our Torah has been passed down. In a moment, we're going to ask for family members to come forward. But first, Alex, if you can spotlight for us Marty and Janice Elkinson, who aren't here in person, but we want to make sure that they're acknowledged as, there they are. Everyone wave at them. They're waving at you. You probably can't see that. But they are very much part of this Torah being passed down. We're now going to also call forward Grancy and Papa C and Melma Farrow and Ken and Edie and Rye. If you'll all come forward and stand over here, kind of in chronological order. So I have grandparents on this side, parents in the middle, and Sisi and Gabe on the side.
You're all the way right.
Ladorvador, from generation to generation, beginning with a conversation between Moses and God at Mount Sinai. Today, Gabe and Sisi, this Torah comes into your loving arms, that someday you may pass it down to your children and to your grandchildren as they ascend.
Ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha na'akdish.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlule Adonai itin romema shemo yachdav.
Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam bo'ed. Al shlosha devarim, Shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Please be seated, everyone. We're going to be calling a number of people forward for an aliyah. You're going to go over to the podium where the cantor is standing, where there is a sheet with the words so that you can chant it from there. The first 4 aliyot will be chanted by Gabe, and then the 5th through the 8th will be by Sisi. And we are going to surround you with love and blessings. So for our first aliyah, we invite back Clifford Alchul and Melissa Farrow. Ya'amdu Simchas Tzvi ben Yitzchak ben Malka Rezel Bas ben Yomen.
Go ahead. Baruch Hu es Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'cha b'nu mikol ha'amim. V'nosan lanu tes Torah. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen.
Ve'omer Adonai el Moshe emor el Kohanim b'nei Aharon ve'amarta lehan lenefesh leitama be'amav ki im lishero hakarov elav leimo ulaviv velino velito lohiv.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher nosan lanu Torah emes. V'cha'ilam na tatata b'sochenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen.
Thank you.
For our second aliyah, we invite Connie forward. Ta'amod Chava bat Shmuel.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher B'Harbanu Mikol Ha'amin. V'tan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Veloto habatila akorava elav asher lo haytal ish lo yitama la yitama be'al be'amav lehehalo.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betuchenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. Thank you so much. For our next aliyah via Zoom, we invite Mark Alchul, Ya'amod Moshe Naftali ben Simchas Tzvi.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Lo yikahu korhai berosham ufat zakana lo yigalehu uviv saram lo yisretu sarate kedoshim yahiu lelo eham velo yahalala shem elohim ki misharanai lehem elohim imakrivim v'hayu kodesh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mark, thank you so much for being here via Zoom. Ya'amod, 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 Habachor Habar Mitzvah, Gabriel Shalom Wolf Ben Carmi Pinchas Sechaika. We now invite Gabe Elkinson for his aliyah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'harbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ishe zona v'halala lo yikahu ve'isha geresham ve'isha lo yikahu ki kadosh hu le'lohav. The Kidash ta kielem eleha hu makriv kadosh yahelach ki kadosh ani Adonai mekadish ham. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet ve'olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach.
I know.
Wow. Sisi, come on up. Now, Sisi, it's not a race to do it faster or slower than your brother, okay?
Okay.
For our next Aliyah via Zoom, we invite back Marty and Janice Elkinson. Ya'amdu Moshe ben Leah v'Yafa bat Moshe.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavara.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavara le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Uva ish kohen ki tehal yisnot et avihahi mehalalet ba'esh hisarev v'hakohen hagadol me'eha asher yatzaka rosho shemen hamisha u'milei et yado li'olbosh et havegadim et rosho lo yifra ufatav lo yifram.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'kayei olam nata b'tukenu Baruch atah noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you so much. For our sixth Aliyah, we invite via Zoom Dan Elkinson, Ya'amud Daniel ben Moshe.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ve'al honasho me lo yavo le'aviv ulimo lo yitama v'min hamikdash lo yitzei v'lo yahalel et mikdash elohav ki nezer shemen mishat elohav alav ani Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tuchenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you so much.
He nailed it.
We now invite Ken and Edie and Rai. Why don't you come forward as well for their Aliyah? Ya'amdu Karmi Pinchas ben Moshe v'Tzachaika bat Simchas Tzvi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah
Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Gabe, why don't you come forward as well? Yeah, stand with your family.
Lehu ishaviv tila ha'ika amana ugrusha v'halala zona et elech lo'ika ki im betula me'ama v'ika isha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Wow. Oh, you've got your Aliyah. Right. Okay, everyone stay up there. Everyone stay there. Yeah, stay. We're going to Yasher Koach you again. Ta'amod. Ta'amod. Ta'amod habachura habat mitzvah Shoshana Chaya bat Karmi Pinchas v'Tzachaika. And we now invite Sisi for her Aliyah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'lo yahalel sar'o be'amav ki ani Adonai mekadesho. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Cantor now? Now, yay! That's a clock. Wow. I want to hang out here for a second. We're going to lift the Torah up, and even though it is, what am I saying? We're going to lift the Torah up, and while it's being raised, we're going to ask everyone to please stand up, whether you're here or at home, so that you can see this section of the Torah that they chanted so beautifully. So please rise, everyone.
Vezot Torah she'asa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Are we seated?
Yeah, do you sit it? Then it alternates.
No, but it's like alternates. We should probably both do.
Yeah, let's take it. It took us a little extra time to put the Torah cover on. This is our first time using this particular Torah in a very long time, the one that we usually use, that just from the congregation, who of you have already become bat mitzvah and bar mitzvah? Quite a few of you. So all of you used the other Torah scroll, the smaller one. That's actually been sent off to be repaired to a scribe in Philadelphia, one of the only female scribes in the entire world. And she's repairing the Torah, and it's going to take a few months. So in the interim, we're using this one, and Cantor and I haven't had as much practice putting the cover on this one. We're now going to continue with the section of the Haftorah, and Gabe and Sisi will begin with the blessing beforehand.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah v'Moshe avdo v'Yisrael amo v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Kohanim Halvim B'nei Tzadok Asher Shamaru Mishmeret Mikdashi Beito B'nei Israel Ma'alai Hema Yikro Elai L'Sharteni V'amdu L'fanai L'Krivli Helev V'dam Neo Adonai Elohim Hema Yiva'o El Mikdashi V'hema Yikro L'Shalhani L'Sharteni V'shamarei at Mishmarti V'haya Beva'am Al Sha'arei Ha'ater HaPnimid B'igdei Fishtim Yobashu Lo Ya'alei Alehem Tamer V'shartim V'shamarei Ha'ater Penimid V'avaita Ha'arei Fishtim Yahya Al Rosham V'misei Fishtim Yahyu Al Misnehem Lo Yikaru Bayaza V'tzetam Al Ha'ater Hafesana, Yishutu, Epavigdehem, Asher Hema, Mishartim, Bam, Behini Huotam, Belish Kota Kodash, V'lachu begadim ahrim v'lo yakachu at home. V'vigdehem.
Berasham lo yalehu. Uperach lo yashalehu. Kasam yismu. At Rashehem. Ve'ayin lo yishu. Kokohen. Bevoam. Hahatzera penimit. Ve'almana ugrisha lo ikahu lahem. Lenashim. Ki mitulot. Mizera beit Israel. Ve'ha'alman asher tiet almana. Mikohain ikahu. Ve'edami yoru. Vein kodesh lahol. Ve'tamei tahor yodiim. Ve'alriv. Hema yamdu lamishpat. Ve'mishpatai yishbatuhu. Ve'toratai. Ve'hukotai. Bahamadai yishmoru. Ve'shabtatai kadeshu. Ve'almeit adam. Lo yavo letama. Ki'im la'av. U'aim. Uvin uvat la'av. Ulahot asher lo hayita la'ish yitamayu. Ve'ahare tahorato. Shiva yamim yispiru lo. Uvyom. Bo el Kodesh El Hatzer Hapanimit Lasharet Ba Kodesh Yakriv Hatato Naim Adonai Adonai.
V'hayita lahem lanahala ani nahalata. V'yahuzah lo tidnu lachem b'Yisrael ani yahuzatam. Haminhav ha'atam v'ha'asham. Hema Yoholu Woherim B'Israel Lahem Yahya Bereshit Ho Bekurei Ho Ho Termat Ko Mikol Termat Teham Lakohanim Yahya Bereshit Arisotehem Tetnu Lakohan Lahania Baraka El Beitaha Kol Nefela Utrefa Min Ha'ot Umin Ha'behema Lo Yoholu HaKohanim.
So wow. Well, before you offer the blessing after, you're hearing some crinkling of candy wrappers, and there's gonna be candy distributed to everyone here. Once you're finished with your blessing, go ahead, Ryan, that's fine. Once you're finished with the blessing, people in the congregation will gently, Nathaniel and Nate gently toss candy on with joy onto the bima area, and when we're finished with that, then you can come and pick the candy up. And to Sisi and Gabe, just plow through this because you're going to be hearing the joy of candy around you. Just keep on chanting. Why don't you start now?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol ha'olamim Sadik bechol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh Hamedaber umekayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatah lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdisha v'limnuha lehavod u'letifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim la. Uvarhim ota, Yiparashim Habafikol Hai, Tamid Le'olam Ba'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
All right, come get it, folks. Pick up the candy.
I want a piece.
Piece of candy.
My candy. Yeah, I get Wow, right. You have to share. Right, share. Rai got like 10. Oh, thank you. Rai got like 10
candies.
Sisi and Gabe have a seat.
I get them after. If there's more, we can get them after.
That's a new one.
Rai, you took like 10.
I got all of them.
Rai, you took 10.
I sit down. Sit down, I sit down.
What incredible joy we're all experiencing. What incredible joy. We have an opportunity, really an obligation, when we feel this joy to remember that there are people beyond this tent who could use a sense of shalom. Maybe that's healing, maybe it's emotional, maybe it's physical, maybe it's spiritual. On page 253, right in the middle of the page is our prayer for healing, the Mischa. And we're going to sing this together. And when we get to the center, for those who are here, when my eyes meet yours, if there are people that you know who could use an extra embrace of shalom, some healing, please don't be shy. Share those names out loud. And for those who are home, please feel free to write those names in the chat box. That way we can see and we can hear those for whom we are praying.
Mischa Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Sandy Freilich, Sharon Gantman. Mischa Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
As we prepare now to place the Torah back into the ark, we're on page 256. We invite the congregation to rise once again. Rai, if you'll come forward to open the ark, and Sisi and Gabe, if you'll come forward as well. Ki lekach tov natati lachem, torati al ta'azovu. For I have given you good instruction. Do not abandon my Torah. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, shalom. It is a tree.
Shalom,
It's not a bush.
shalom,
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Chaim hilemakazi ibavetohecha neusharet. Chaim hilemakazi ibavetohecha neushar. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Please be seated, everyone, except for Sisi and Gabe for now.
I am. Shabbat Shalom. We're so glad that you're able to join us on our B'nai Mitzvah. Becoming a Bar Mitzvah is starting a new chapter in my life where I'm expected to be more mature and to take responsibility for my actions. The name of our portion is Amor. I'm going to be speaking about a very famous line from the Torah. That line is, "If anyone hurts another, so shall it be done in return. A fracture for a fracture, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth." Everyone has heard the line an eye for an eye before, but do we really know what it means? I discovered that this line is mentioned in the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible. This shows how important it is, a common value across all religions and humanity. When I Google searched an eye for an eye, 2,440,000,000 results came up. I really didn't know where to start. The first thing I learned is that it is one of the most commonly misunderstood lines in our Torah. Many people think of it as this: anything you do to another, you should receive that exact injury as a punishment. That was my initial understanding when I first read it last year, and I disagreed with the line at the time. What I've come to learn is that it really means that you should have to make up for your actions and pay whatever price is needed. As an example, if you hospitalize someone with an injury, you should pay their medical bill. I've come to realize that what I disagreed with was a literal interpretation of an eye for an eye. However, after learning its true meaning, I now understand and agree with it. The rabbis share a similar opinion. They say revenge is not good. If someone gives another an injury, they should pay compensation. They should not be punished in retaliation. In one of my classes last year, we had a quote of the week on the wall. The week before we had to leave school because of the pandemic, the quote on the wall was from Gandhi and said, "An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind." This quote shows that if we just took the literal interpretation of the Torah's line, the world would be in a vicious cycle with everyone getting injured or even killed. Overall, everyone makes mistakes except for my mom, and we can only learn from them. We can't take back what we have already done. We can own up and try to correct our mistakes. This concept of being accountable for my actions is one of the many things Judaism has taught me. I feel so lucky to have grown up with so many Jewish friends, traditions, holidays, experiences, and camp memories. As my Bar Mitzvah project, I'm supporting the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles to help fund less fortunate families looking to send their kids to a Jewish camp. The Federation here in LA provides nearly $1 million every summer to Jewish kids so they can have the experience that I've been lucky enough to have myself. Lastly, I have some people I'd like to thank. First, I want to thank Kenner Lonnie and Kenner Josh for helping me through all my prayers, Torah portion, and Haftarah portion. You guys have made sure that I'm ready on this day. I also want to thank Rabbi Zach for answering all my questions, helping give me a much better understanding of the religion. I want to thank the Sisterhood for the Kiddush Cup, as well as the men's group for the Tanakh. I want to thank my grandparents for coming across the country to be here in person with me. I want to thank my friends for always being there with me, whether it's in person or blowing up the group chat while I'm trying to work. Last but not least, I want to thank my family. I want to thank my little brother Rai for always being there, even to the meetings you're not invited to. Seriously, if it wasn't for you, I would have no one to pulverize this past year during the pandemic. I want to thank my sister for sharing this special day with me. Hope you're not mad at me for going first for once in our lives. I want to thank my parents for always being there with me every step of the way. I could not have completed this without your constant nagging to practice. Thank you all so much. For my friends and family who could not be in person, I'm holding my parents to their promise that we'll celebrate together when the pandemic is over. Thank you.
When we postponed our B'nai Mitzvah last year, Rabbi Zach and Cantor Lonnie told us we'd be able to keep the same Torah portion that we had already learned. I felt pretty certain then that the speech I wrote would be the one I deliver here today. Same portion, same person, same speech, right? Here's some of what I would have shared with you a year ago. Hello, welcome everyone. It means so much to me and my family that you all could come from near and far to see us on this special day. To me, becoming a bat mitzvah means taking on more responsibilities and being more mature while making decisions. For example, I will start adapting my life and making compromises to make everyone's lives better by listening and collaborating with others. Gabe and I share a Torah portion called Amor. The word Amor means to speak and is from the book of Leviticus, which is the third book in the Torah. The word speak connects to my life because I'm a naturally shy person, but am making goals to go outside of my comfort zone. I feel that as a Jewish adult, I can also work towards achieving goals like becoming more outgoing. Let me share the setting of my Torah portion. The children of Israel are on their 40-year journey through the desert. Part of the portion talks about the importance of Jewish holidays and festivals. The portion talks about Shabbat, Passover, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. I thought that this was interesting because it had no mention of my favorite holiday, Hanukkah. Then, in my original speech, I would have gone on to explain that the reason Hanukkah isn't in there is that Hanukkah didn't exist during the times of the Torah. In fact, Hanukkah didn't exist in the entire Bible. I would have then told you all about how much I love Hanukkah, not just for receiving gifts, but mostly for bringing joy to others with some crafts I like to make. A few months ago, I reread our portion in English, and some things stood out to me that I hadn't really taken much notice of a year ago. This portion spends a lot of time focusing on the high priests or the Kohen Gadol. It lists a lot of rules for them: who they could marry, what garments to wear, how to wear their hair, where they couldn't go, and so much more. I started thinking about the high priests, how they got their name from just their name, and who their ancestors were. In 6th grade, we learned about how in ancient India, there was this category called the Untouchables. We also learned about this group who were superior to the rest, called the Brahmin, and the contrast between them and the Untouchables. The title made them who they were, their career, their family life, and where they lived. There was no way out of that. You couldn't, let's just say, trade titles. This might all sound like ancient text, but even in modern times, we are still facing so much judgment and assumption based on a name or who your ancestors were. For example, even in the last year, there has still been a lot of racism. I think it is not fair to be put in a category based on stuff you can't control. You can't control the color of your skin, and it definitely doesn't make anyone dangerous or bad. When you are in this category, you cannot leave it. Sometimes I wonder if it is really worth all that pressure just to uphold a title. I don't think status should be determined by your name. Instead, I think it should be determined by something you can control, such as your accomplishments and success in life. One benefit I've learned from stretching my B'nai Mitzvah this extra year is the connection between the Jewish people and studying Torah. If I had only read my portion at that one moment in time, I don't think I ever would have had this new look at it. I've been joining Torah study this year, and one thing that really stood out to me is that everyone from a 13-year-old to a senior can equally voice their opinions and question the Torah together. In 40 years from now, I could be in Torah study, rereading this very portion, maybe even having new ideas, which shows me that it is a lifelong study. Every year, around this time, I start counting down the days to camp, and this year more than ever. Camp is definitely one of my highlights each year, and something I'd be devastated to miss out on. I have made so many memories with my camp friends, from doing weird talent show acts to making friendship bracelets and playing 17+. Camp, camp is truly my home away from home. When I started brainstorming Bat Mitzvah project ideas, I knew I wanted to do something camp related. I have decided that I will be donating a portion of my Bat Mitzvah money to the One Happy Camper Foundation. One Happy Camper is a nonprofit that provides grants to families sending their children to Jewish overnight camps for their first year as a way to encourage them to go to camp. As someone who benefited from One Happy Camper, I am super happy to get to support them. One Happy Camper might have been that one final push that made me want to go to camp, and I do not regret going one bit. It would make me really happy to be able to give other families that push to send their children to camp so they can make long-lasting memories and have the opportunities I had. I want to start off my concluding thanks first with the rabbi for allowing me the chance to revisit my thoughts and question the portion. I also want to thank Cantor Lonnie and last year's cantorial intern Josh, who helped me learn all the blessings on my Torah portion. Special thanks to Cantor Lonnie for this past month to refresh with me. I also want to give thanks to Randy for making my Hebrew education awesome, to the Sisterhood for the Kiddush Cup, and to the men's group for the Tanakh. I also want to thank Leah, our camp director, for giving me so many lasting memories shared with my friends at camp. I want to thank my friends from Hebrew school, from camp, and from school for being there during my worst and best moments, always making me laugh. Thank you to Rai for being a great little brother and for being there to keep me company and train Moose and Ninja together. Thank you, Gabe, for sharing this special day with me and for being who you are, so I won't ever have to experience life as the least favorite child. Thank you to my grandparents, Papa C, Grancy, and Melma, and to my Hebrew school friends who came to celebrate with me in person. Finally, thank you to my parents for making my Hebrew education as well as this entire day possible. Thank you so much for joining me on this special day.
Gabe and Sisi, why don't you stand up here together? And Ryan, why don't you come forward?
Does yours feel really long?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Gabe, since you have not got to go before Sisi in many things, I am putting you first in my speeches. Gabe, you have been so important during this pandemic because without you, I would have no one to play physical sports with, and even though this may be a minus, I would have no one to get pulverized by. Also, you are always willing to have a fight with me over anything. Although you may have beat me in all the games we have played, it's always fun to do something with you. You have taught me so many techniques and given me so much advice. You have been my mentor in sports and helped me improve in all sports, even though it may be giving me criticism. I will get you back for pulverizing me, but for now, Mazel Tov. You have done such a great job. Sisi, you have also been so important to me during this pandemic. You have taught me all kinds of art like clay, and without you, I wouldn't be the artist that I am. You have always been there to entertain me, whether it's showing me your writing, playing cornhole with me, or watching a show with me. You're always going along with what we're doing, and most of the time not complaining, finding the best of it, whether it's going to my baseball games and getting stuff from the snack bar, or just playing a game you don't love. You've always shared Ninja with me, and I love making obstacle courses for him and seeing him do them with you. You're always nice to me, or most of the time, and willing to help me and share lots of your things with me. Mazel Tov. You have done amazing. I love you guys.
All right. Rye, have a seat. That was so beautifully done, and we're going to have your parents come forward.
Shoot, Mom. I know. Right, you can stay there.
Okay,
That should go first.
I'm gonna go first, but I'm just saying, which
It's your choice. Just go. Whoever you wrote first.
let's go last.
Just pick
All right, I'm
one.
gonna start with Gabe.
Okay.
As everyone does that. Gabe, I can so vividly remember the night you and Sisi were born, even though I can't recall what I had for dinner last night. Earlier that day, Mom and I had gone to a doctor's appointment. They told us it was time for you to come out as you were getting a little distressed. I'm not saying that Sisi had anything to do with it, but the timing was a little suspicious. The doctor said that baby B was going to be a fighter, and boy was he right. You made your grand debut that night later at around 4.5 pounds. I really thought for the first few weeks I was going to break you. I already had no idea what I was doing as a parent 99% of the time, and you being so tiny wasn't helping. I'm not blaming you for the gray hair that started to come out around that time. That was just a coincidence. At the beginning of the pandemic, when we were finally able to score a 5-pound bag of highly coveted flour, something made me think, hold on a second, about the fact that bag was bigger than you were when you were born, and probably more expensive. And then for the first time in about a month, I smiled. I thought about how lucky we were to have you. One of the first words you said was dangerously close to something terrible. It was something so bad that Mom and I would never utter in a million years. It was straight out of a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode, which you probably watched with Sisi at 2 a.m. when Mom and I are out like a light. Luckily, your vocabulary grew and you never offended anyone, at least not at that point. Soon you started saying, I'll go get, and you would quickly go get a ball, almost like a puppy playing fetch. A puppy who loves mac and cheese with a side of spinach souffle and another side of veggie sausages. I think your ability as a natural fighter helped you deal well with some curveballs in life. Even though you got car sick, at least half the time, it never diminished your ability to have fun. One time you were completely covered in rice and your Aunt Barbara said, Gabe really enjoys life. The first day of school, you were so nervous you threw up in my ear, which was a first for me. The second day, you wanted nothing to do with me. I can remember at least 3 or 4 times one of your closest friends from elementary school moved away. But you adapted, and after each one left, you quickly made new friends. And at the same time, you kept in touch with the ones who had left for greener pastures. When you broke your finger in the middle of baseball season, you were understandably bummed. You noticed there was a ping pong table at school, and you could use your other hand to play as you recovered. You ended up getting so good, you even beat the principal and some of the teachers. I used to love playing sports with my brother as a kid, but as I got older and so busy, it was hard to find time. But I like that you were such a sports guy that you wrote me back in, even though you totally beat me at basketball most of the time. I love watching you on the soccer field more than anything in the world. Well, not as much as being in an empty room watching Netflix with no one bothering me, but pretty close. How you drive up the field with your amazing ball handling skills, and you're just as happy to get that assist as a goal. How you thread that perfect pass. How even when you lose, you are a good sport and don't let it ruin you. At the same time, I call you a fighter, and yes, you can argue a cover off a tennis ball. You're an amazing teacher and helper. Most of the time, I love watching you play sports with Rye, at least until there are tears or a head injury or both. I see the amazing athlete that Rye is becoming, and while some of it is based on his natural ability, the bigger part is based on how you train him, compete with, and selflessly help compete with him, and selflessly help him develop his skills. At school, I know that if someone is struggling in math, you are always there to lend a hand. You surpassed my math skills about 2 years ago, just at the same time you grow taller than Mom. Well done on both fronts, Gabe. I can't wait for the end of the pandemic so we can return to watching live sports. Getting there 4 hours early in the constant quest to get a sweaty headband from one of the Chargers, and then making me carry it around the rest of the day. Going to Kings and Ducks and Golden Knights games and sneaking down to the front row to get a stick or a puck, trying to grab that foul ball or a towel shot out of a cannon. I'm sure we could just go to Florida and do this all now, but we're more cautious than that. Sorry, after all, I am a risk manager, Gabe. As I also said to Sisi, well, I didn't say it yet, but I'm going to say it. I'm incredibly proud of the job that you did today and the resilience you had throughout the pandemic. To lose out on all those fun bar and bat mitzvah parties. I'm sure it is not like 1985 when I was a kid, when my friends would try to steal beer from the bartender, but I still feel bad that you're missing out on some fun. But we all know that's not what this is about. You carried forward the traditions of your ancestors, and even though you're not a big fan of babies, I have a feeling one day that you'll come around and pass this tradition to your children. This is the time when I want to steal Rabbi Zach's guitar and embarrass you with a song, but I'm not going to. I won't. You're welcome. Mazel tov, again. I love you more than you love the restaurant Sunny Blue, Gabe. Congratulations, Mazel tov. Good job. Next victim. No, this is a hard one. Sisi, now that you're a teenager, actually closer to an adult thanks to the pandemic, It's pretty evident that hanging out with your dad is not at the top of your list. Even though some people refer to me as fun dad, I get it. Even though I feel like I'm 48 going on 84, I was a teenager once. And even though I am mostly off social media and I can quit at any time, sorry, I did see a post from a college friend a few weeks back. It was a picture of her daughter on her 16th birthday, and it said something like, "We lost you for a few years to the whole teenager thing, but we're so glad to have you back." So Sisi, until that day comes for us, I would like to reflect on some of our best memories. 3 things we love to do in our family are get injured, travel, and accumulate pets, in no particular order. It comes as no surprise that some of our funniest memories have come at the doctor's office. Like the time Rye accidentally hit you in the eye socket with a cast iron part of his car seat. You had a giant black eye, and you said right in front of the urgent care doctor, "Dad, what should I tell them happened?" Even though the doctor's name tag said she was a gynecologist, I still offered at least 10 times to bring the car seat to show her what happened. She said, "Don't worry, I believe you," as she furiously scribbled in your file. Thankfully, we live in Los Angeles, and Child Protective Services hasn't gotten around to following up on this one yet. There was the time you cracked your head open jumping from your dresser to your crib. You were still very shy and refused to speak to the doctor. So they just handed you a coloring book and your discharge instructions in Spanish. Anyone who knows you these days would never believe that you were once that shy. On the travel front, there was the time you were wrestling with your brothers at customs and stepped over the invisible line you're not supposed to cross before it's your turn. You had the distinct privilege of being the first person ever to have a rifle pulled on you by the Icelandic military, which I did not even know existed. Then there was another time at customs when you were wearing your Sisi bracelet upside down and it read ISIS to the man stamping your passport. I remember like it was yesterday that we got a call you had made it to the top of the waiting list for a hand-raised hamster I found on Craigslist. How I thought we were going to get robbed, so I made us eat our donuts in the car while we were waiting for Linda the hamster lady to arrive home. How we then showed up at her house expecting to find some creepy old woman who lived in a basement, and instead she looked like a model. How you were handed a scrambled egg-loving hamster that was both potty trained and perfectly accustomed to humans at 4 weeks old, who was quickly reaching a longevity record. I wouldn't trade these memories for anything, Sisi. I tell these stories not because I'm promoting my book of funny stories, but rather reflecting on the past 14 years of the amazing memories we had experienced together. I watched you grow from the little girl who would not let go of my hand at the first school dance. Then by the next year, you said, "Dad, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. I'll see you at the end of the night." You went from coloring on the walls of our garage to getting your clay sculptures displayed in fine art museums and the Smithsonian. Wow, just wow. Sisi, I know by now you're getting ready to give me a big eye roll, but I want you to know how proud Mom and I are of the person that you are becoming. When there is ever something you have trouble with, you work and work and work until you figure it out. Never does the thought of giving up cross your mind. You started a successful business with very little outside help and learned new aspects daily. You are an amazing, loyal friend who has developed such an incredible network of fun, kind, and thoughtful friends. You made the best of the pandemic, teaching yourself new skills and being an amazing big sister to Rye. You stand up for what you believe is right, but you always listen to other opinions. And it certainly does not hurt that you inherited my good looks and trim body. All jokes aside, I'm so proud of you for your accomplishments today. Your beautiful chanting from the Torah and Haftarah in your speech. You have literally done it all, and you're just getting started. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, whether it is a vet, an architect, or even someone who works up working at the building next to your school. That's an inside joke. Google Plan B Los Angeles if you didn't get that one, Plan B. I know you are going to make the world a brighter place, and all that I ask is that you drive Mom and I to our doctor's appointments one day, because I'm certainly not trusting Gabe with his driving. I love you more than you love revolving sushi, even though I will need the other 2 vaccines before we hit that again. I love you, Sisi. Mazel tov. Beautiful job.
Oh gosh.
That was a tough act to follow. All right, I'm going to speak to you first. Sisi.
Okay.
Okay. Sisi, the day you were born, I have to say the danger of not sharing my speech is that some of the things I was going to say, my dad previewed, but that's okay. The day you were born, January 17th, 2007, the headlines boasted a rare phenomenon here. The LA Times wrote, "It's winter for a day as snow dusts parts of LA." I think you may have brushed our city with some of your luck that day. The reason I say that is because Sisi is one of the luckiest people I've ever known, with Ken as a close second. Sisi has a knack for raffles and lotteries. In fact, she lotteried our family into New West for middle school 3 years ago. But I don't want to insinuate that all of your fortune comes from luck. Sisi, when I was pregnant with you and Gabe, you were baby A and Gabe was baby B. A few weeks before your due date, you, baby A, started getting bigger than baby B. And the doctor said if the trend continued, we might need to deliver early to ensure baby B, Gabe, wasn't undergoing too much stress. I tossed and turned worrying about what sort of a big monster baby A was. You and Gabe were born 7 days after that appointment, and you couldn't have been less of a monster with your sweet tan cheeks, your big brown eyes, and your soft, fuzzy brown hair. As Papa C said, you shared a bassinet with Gabe, and every time a nurse or doctor would come in to check on one of you, Gabe would whimper as soon as you were picked up and immediately quiet down the moment you were returned next to him. You either kept him warm or kept him company. And when you were just 5 days old, you unwittingly took on the first of many selfless acts. You stayed with Gabe at the hospital for one additional day while he got some extra time with a heat lamp in the room. Obviously, you weren't making this choice at less than a week old. You were thrown into it, but it is so akin to your nature that I'm pretty confident you'd stick around and repeat that move today. Being one of 3 kids means lots of schlepping around for someone else's activities. Once Raya was born, we had to make room. We needed to move one of you to the 3rd row. At almost 5, you had pretty well nailed down the seatbelt buckling, so you were the natural choice to head on back. It probably wasn't your first choice, but you adapted and seemed to find the upside to the me time you found back there. This was evidenced by the assorted wrappers and missing art supplies I discovered a few years later. Sisi was named for Ken's grandfather, Sidney, who he and Dan lovingly called Pop. As Gigi read at your baby naming, this is a quote, I pulled up the papers, Sienna will have some of his genes, honest, clean, generous, respect for family, and articulate. I'm not sure if Pop had a clean room when he was 14, but ignoring that detail, I would say you embody all of those traits. It is so perfectly fitting that your Torah portion is Amor, which, as you pointed out, means to speak. At every parent-teacher conference since preschool, your teachers have all said, we would love to hear Sisi talk a little bit more, and maybe Gabe a little less. Watching you prepare for today for the past year and a half, you have developed so much poise. You have also grown in other ways, and both literally and figuratively, I now look up to you. You are funny, which not everybody knows. Sisi's very funny, like the time when Dad thought he had kidney stones and Sisi renamed them Kenny Stones. Ken is fine, by the way. This year, because of the pandemic and online learning, I've had the greatest joy of Sisi becoming my 5-day-a-week workout buddy to fulfill her strength and conditioning class. We do a mix of YouTube workouts, paddle tennis games, just dance competitions, and one of my favorites, biking. I know biking isn't your favorite pastime, and I love that you humor me to come along. And now, a confession. When we get across that bridge in Playa del Rey and you ask how many more minutes, I don't always tell the truth about that. Sorry. I would be remiss if, like Dad, I didn't talk about how I so truly admire your artistic expression. You have this amazing way of envisioning ideas and creating beautiful works of art from a small ball of clay, a blank canvas, or for today, a plain white kippah. I've been doing calligraphy since I was 10 years old, and you picked up a brush pen last year, and now you offer me tips. You have combined this artistic talent with the raw energy to start your Etsy shop, and though you don't like the show as much as the rest of us, you are literally the quintessential Shark Tank contestant, a hungry entrepreneur who knows her business inside and out and wakes up excited to check for orders. I recently conducted a survey of some of the people who've known you since you were born, and here's how they described you in one word: creative, artistic ×2, and thoughtful. When asked to predict what you might be doing as an adult, here's what they projected. In the field of education related to the arts, maybe teaching children, clothing designer, interior designer, graphic designer, nonprofit executive, or owning your own art-related business. Sisi, going back to the point I mentioned earlier about Amor and your evolution, I see in front of me someone who I admire so much for your perseverance. I know it hasn't been easy to find your voice and speak up, and yet I'm not surprised. I'm not crying. There has to be water coming down. Yes, you are lucky like that magical snowfall here the day you were born, but I know that you are also busy creating your own destiny, nurturing your wonderful network of friends, and mapping out your plans. Sisi, you have already outgrown my talents. So I'm left with little advice other than to believe in yourself because I know you have a lot to offer this world. Okay. I didn't cry. I don't know. Okay. Gabe, my thoughts for you today center around a topic that no parents ever discuss, favoritism. As you heard Sisi share earlier, Gabe has jokingly created the moniker for himself, least favorite child. This may have started around the time we accidentally left you at home one morning when we went to Sisi's basketball game. Either way, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Although I don't have a real favorite among you three, I do have many favorite things about you, Gabe. The first thing is that you, Gabe, were named for one of my all-time favorite people, my Nana Gert. Nana Gert was a businesswoman with a thriving catering company who made the most amazing cakes. She made cakes for all 8 of her grandchildren's bar and bat mitzvahs, and when it came time for her first grandchild, Michael, to get married, she decided not to make his wedding cake out of concern for fairness. Would she have the endurance to make them for everyone? That overriding sense of justice reminds me a lot of you. She was independent and resourceful, and something I did not know about her that Papa C shared at your bris is that she loved sports and came to all of his ball games. You also were named for one of Papa C's favorite people, your great-great-grandfather William, who he called Pop. I saved the paper that Papa C read from at your bris, and he wrote in all caps, fun, 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 fun about his Pop. He shared that Pop gave him his love for sports and that he would travel at the drop of a hat to New York or Baltimore for a World Series game if a friend could get him a ticket. He got into the stock market in the 1940s and retired off his 6 blue chip stocks, leaving his business to his 2 sons. He never looked back, and as Papa C described, his cup was always full. I believe that you are destined to carry some, if not all, of these qualities from our beloved grandparents. Another favorite thing about you, Gabe, is your decisiveness and your confidence. I saw that a lot today. Well, over the years, I have watched you play soccer, baseball, and basketball, and I am always in awe of your ability to shrug off the nerves from a high pressure situation. Whether it's pitching in a playoff game after returning from a broken finger or taking the last shot in a penalty shootout in a tied up game, I always have other parents ask me how you appear so calm, and the truth is I have no idea. I see that same confidence and decisiveness in your approach to school, and a year and a half ago, I got to witness it firsthand when we took our soccer referee training course. After hearing Ken talk about the many pressures of refereeing and how he would rather do any other job, even painting lines, I got intrigued what all the fuss was about. At the same time, Gabe's coach encouraged his team to get certified. So Gabe and I decided to do it together. Mind you, I had never played a day of soccer and didn't know the first thing about an offside call or a penalty kick. And I was so nervous that I studied the book that they gave you cover to cover for days before, and I really sweated it out during the exam. You zipped right through it and giggled, waiting around while I checked and double checked all of my answers. You, of course, passed with flying colors, while I was literally 2 questions shy of failing. But we both got our yellow and black jerseys, our flags, and our whistles, and we spent that fall co-refereeing. You never shied away from telling me in the car on the way home every botched call I had made, and yet you somehow didn't totally dislike signing up together. Another favorite trait of yours is empathy. You spoke earlier about your Torah portions focus on an eye for an eye, and you and I had a pretty ironic about face last summer. I had an injury and wound up with a broken bone in my foot. As it was swelling up and I wasn't quite sure what to do, you dashed out of the room for a minute and returned with the boot cast that you had worn nearly every day the summer before. You recognized immediately what was happening and gave me pointers to get off my foot and ice it. I wound up in a cast and boot for 8 weeks. And here's the irony. One day, as I was lugging that thing around, commenting on how heavy it was to go upstairs, you reminded me of our trip to Yosemite the summer before when you were in that very same boot and I was telling you to quit complaining and keep up the pace. Gabe, thank you for having the maturity and empathy not to point it out too many times. Gabe, my mom used to tell me that raising me was a little bit like trying to contain a wild pony and that she couldn't wait to see what it would be like to see me as a parent, especially if I got lucky enough to get a wild pony of my own. Sometimes when I look at you, I almost feel as if I'm looking in a mirror, and Mama D would have really enjoyed your spirit. Gabe, I'm rounding the corner of my speech, and if I haven't cried until this point, I think it's looking pretty good for me in our little bet. Finally, I want to share the results of my Gabe survey. Here's how they describe you in a word: driven, active ×2, and athletic. When asked to predict what you might be doing as an adult, here's what they projected: inventing something we cannot live without, a college math professor, financial analyst or stockbroker, a statistician or broadcast journalist. There was a lot of crossover in the responses, and clearly you are known as someone with very sharp analytical skills. As twins, you and Sisi have a shared history that Dad and I and even Rye will never truly know. We have a friend who gave me the advice when you two were babies to choose a nanny who looks at life differently than Dad and I do, someone who will add an extra perspective for you and Sisi. When I think about the two of you in every sense of the word, I think that you bookend each other with your outlooks and talents. Where one has weakness, the other has strength. And so my wish for you is that you choose to harness both your own and each other's uniqueness. Continue being that decisive, confident, and empathetic person. These are some of the qualities that make for a great leader, and I believe that you are bound for wonderful things ahead. I am so proud of you. And then we just have like a quick thing. One more thing is we want to conclude by echoing our thanks to Rabbi Zach and Cantor Lonnie, to Robin, to Randy, to Jeffrey, and the entire staff at Temple Akiba. I also want to thank, and on behalf of Ken and I, we want to thank our Havara friends, the Mervishes, the Zwangs, and the Sondiks, especially our scientific advisor, Joanna, without whom we would have felt utterly paralyzed planning for today. With nearly all of our family on the East Coast, our Havara has made us feel a part of our local family, and we are forever grateful for the way that you have enriched our experience at Temple Akiba. We thank our family and friends from near and far for enthusiastically joining us today, and a special heartfelt thanks to Ken's mom, to my dad, and Melissa for making such a big journey to be here. Okay, getting through it. Our goal in pushing our date 1 year ago was to have grandparents here with us, and your presence has made this feel complete. I did.
Really. You stay here. I'll tell you in a minute. Wow. You guys have a seat.
Okay.
Except for Gabe and Sisi. Oh, it's just so beautiful.
We still have more. I don't know.
Gabe and Sisi, your dad just asked me about the quotation that's along the side here. It was actually, this mural was painted by the son of Ira and Carol Diamond to just beautify this area out here, even before the tent was put up. And it's a quotation that we use during Tu B'Shvat, and it says, "As my ancestors planted for me, so too do I plant for my children." And it's about a midrash about a man who planted a tree, knowing that he himself wouldn't see the tree because he would die, but knowing that his children would see the tree. And I have to say to Sisi, to Edie and to Ken, that you planted such beautiful seeds in these children. And all of us are benefiting, Gabe and Sisi, from how good you are. I have to admit that a flood of emotions came over me as each of your parents spoke about baby A and baby B, because that was my language a couple of years ago before our twins were born. And like you, little Maya is a minute older than little Eli. May the two of them grow up to be such fine, incredible thinkers and feelers the way the two of you are. Your parents have given me so much hope and so much mentorship in what it means to raise mensches. and all of us who are here are beneficiaries of that. What joy we had in meeting with you in preparation for today, but also beyond. You each bring a sense of goodness, a sense of light, a sense of humor, a sense of joy, and a sense of groundedness. And when I had my meetings with each of you, and we would sort of dovetail one into the other, I couldn't wait until you told me about how your week was and what was going on in your lives, whether it was through sports or arts or your school. And you brought a sense of goodness and focus to my week, and I will forever be grateful to that. As you mentioned, your Torah portion and more means speech or speaking. Each of your parents demonstrated this for me, and I want to share with the community how. When you all first became part of Temple Akiba's community, your dad reached out to me and said, Rabbi Zach, I want to go out and have coffee and just learn about who you are and about who Temple Akiba is. And I want you to know who we are so that when my kids become Bara and Bat Mitzvah, that they're not strangers. To this day, I remember sitting with him and just learning and talking about music, talking about the wonderful chavara that you're part of, and knowing that that power of communication makes a real difference. When you go to your next home, use that power of speech to make connections with all those new friends that you'll make. And just like your dad did, it will bridge that gap of shyness that sometimes, Sisi, we know that you feel. Your mom, in the power of speech, after your bookmarked B'nai Mitzvah last year, wrote a beautiful article that was published in the Jewish Journal about what it's like during this time of isolation to bring people together. Speech can do that. The written word can do that. Having an understanding about bridging time and space can do that. And so Gabe and Sisi, whether it's through what you write down or how you speak to others, your Torah portion really and truly was created for you. You're going to have each other's back for the rest of your lives. And even though there have been times and there will be times that you annoy the heck out of each other, that power of speech is what will connect you forever, because you'll be there for each other through thick and through thin. We feel grateful that our timestamp on this earth got to coincide with yours here at Temple Akiba. Cantrolani has a couple of words to share with you as well, and then we have a blessing.
Sisi and Gabe, I feel so fortunate that we've been spending almost a couple of years now together studying for this moment. And in that time, I am just in awe of how much growth I have seen. Physically, you guys are like a foot taller than when we first started working together. And then just to see how you have grown into these incredible, mature young adults. When we first started tutoring together, we were working with the two of you at the same time, and you would sort of sing over each other and try to sing over each other. And you have gone from that to standing up here on the bima, each having your own individual turn. And when you were chanting together, chanting in harmony at the same time, not one of you trying to out-sing each other. So I'm just in awe of the growth that I have seen in both of you. And I've so enjoyed my time getting to know you, getting to see who you have become. And I can't wait to see what else is going to happen, how you're going to keep maturing and keep showing the world your incredible spirit. And even though I know you're not going to be a part of our community, I hope that we can still keep in touch and hear about you and know how incredible of a light is still shining out there from you. We're so proud of you, Mazel Tov.
So we're going to ask for your parents and your brother to come forward once again as we hold this talit over you, or as they hold this talit over you, and we offer you this blessing.
Right. You don't hold it right.
I'll get this later. It's okay, here we go.
There you go.
Right, you can take hold of some of the All right.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha.
May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom. Shalom.
May God's light always shine through you and grant you the most precious gift, the gift of shalom, of peace. Amen.
Amen.
Group hug, family.
All right.
Stepped on my foot.
All right, everyone, Gabe and Sisi, you're standing up here too.
Yeah, kind of.
Because you'll see it better from up there. We want you to look at the monitor. You don't sit down, stand right there. It's now our honor to invite, on behalf of the congregation via Zoom, Elizabeth Zlotowicz. And Elizabeth is here to offer a special welcome. Actually, Sisi and Gabe, stand a little bit further that way so the camera can get you as well. There we go. All right, now face the monitor. There we go. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. Here's my candy being thrown. Mazel Tov, and Yasher Koach, Sisi and Gabe. I'm honored to be here, to be part of this wonderful, joyous, meaningful day, this B'nai Mitzvah Part 2. I also was present last year for Part 1, and that was also very meaningful and creative. Your B'nai Mitzvah holding spot on Zoom last year. And today, what a glorious day, and to see so many people gathered. You guys are just wonderful. I'm so moved by what you shared and what your parents have shared. Speaking of your parents, I'm going to start with them. Because I'm vice president of membership here at the temple, you know, your family has been valued members of this congregation for many, many years. And I want to thank them for their commitment to this community, this commitment to your Jewish education, and kudos to you guys, Ken and Edie, for valuing the importance of a Jewish education for your children. And we're going to miss you and expect to hear from you from time to time to see how the next chapter of your lives is going. And to our B'nai Mitzvahs, it is my honor to acknowledge this milestone that you have reached in your lives. You've worked so hard and for so long and given it so much of your inner souls and thought to this special day. And Rabbi has for you, he'll actually physically present it to you, but on behalf of the Board of Directors of Temple Akiba, this is your certificate of Bar Mitzvah for Gabe and Bat Mitzvah for Sisi. And also what we have done in honor of this day is we have planted trees in Israel for each of you, and Rabbi has that certificate. And maybe one day you'll go to Israel and look for your tree. But until then, let it inspire you to keep on learning and growing as Jewish adults, and to reach for connection in a Jewish community wherever your future takes you. And I know that you are grounded at Temple Akiba. Just, you know, you have planted roots here, just like your tree in Israel has roots there. And you are rooted here. And we hope that you will always know that Temple Akiba is a home for you, and you have a community here and friends here. So wherever your adventures take you, feel free to keep us posted on how your life unfolds. And if you're ever in Los Angeles again, which I hope is sooner than later, come look for your friends. I know you have not only your peers that you studied with, but certainly Rabbi and Cantor, you can certainly count on among your friends. And I hope that you will always know that I am a friend to you as well. If you ever need or want a hug, come through the doors of Temple Akiba and find me. I will have one on reserve for you. Mazel Tov, Yasher Koach, you've done a great job. And Shabbat Shalom to all who are here today.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. How beautiful for you to be with us, connected in this way. And thank you. Shabbat Shalom to you. Sisi and Gabe, if you can come back to this side again. A couple of more presentations originally given last night. First, from our men's group, a copy of the Tanakh for each of you. So, Gabe, this is yours. Sisi, Mazel Tov to both of you. And from our sisterhood, they have given each of you a Kiddush cup. There you go. And may they be used with health and with happiness always. One additional tradition that we have is the signing of our Ladorvador scroll. And this is a special scroll that was commissioned by our congregation, designed by Mordechai Rosenstein, where every child or adult who becomes a bar bat mitzvah here at Temple Akiba has the opportunity to sign it. We keep it in the ark. Even though we're opening the ark, we ask everyone to remain seated. It says here, our light shines brighter together, which is our synagogue motto. And you're going to be signing right beneath Lucas Besterman, who was our last bar mitzvah here. Dates. Everyone wish him a mazel tov again. And I'm not going to forget Sisi's name spelled backwards well. Friends, our concluding prayers begin with the Aleinu. We're on page 282. We invite all who are able to rise once again.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kogei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. Vanachnu korim umishtachavim umodim לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We're going to remain standing. At this time, we remember very special people in our lives who have died, who truly are smiling, Gabe and Sisi, upon you from their eternal resting spaces. We remember especially Debbie Altschul, Ida Harab, Paul Harab, Gertrude Altschul, Edward Altschul, Lillian Taprock, Gladys Field, and Sydney Field. May their memories always guide us with goodness and with light. On page 294, page 294, we remember together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach rotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'galau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei t'kudashah b'reichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace to be known in the high heavens help us understand that by reaching out to one another, we create peace on earth as well. For all Israel and for all humanity, we say, Amen. Elkinsons, come back forward again. Ken, get your guitar ready, Ken.
Oh, God.
Kendra, do you want to introduce our closing?
Yeah, we're going to be closing with the singing of Oseh Shalom, which is the last few lines of the prayer that we just read. And this has a lot of hand clapping, a lot of ruach, a lot of spirit. So we invite everyone to clap along with us and sing along. And we have the treat of Ken on guitar as well.
Right. So hold on, let's hear G chord then. Good, okay. Kendra, you ready?
I'm ready. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom,
Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Mazel Tov!
Can I take the earpiece off? Can we take this mic off, Michael?